Hello friends, it is Heather and I am back with another movie review. In today's video, I am going to be reviewing the movie We Live in Time, starring Andrew Garfield and Florence Pugh. I'm gonna have to do two things here. Objective review just on the film itself and what I thought of it as a film. And then I'm going to have to give you my personal review and my thoughts and feelings on the film, okay? So first of all, this was a drama starring Andrew Garfield and Florence Pugh. Like I said, it was rated R. It's pretty obvious why it was rated R. There was some pretty significant nudity throughout the movie. There was also a lot of profanity, lots of uses of the F word, and other swear words as well. So, appropriate rating for it. I didn't really get much from the previews. I think I only saw a preview for this movie like once or twice quite a while ago. So I didn't know a lot about what the movie was going to be about going into it. I think you did know from the previews that she's sick and has cancer. They don't come right out and actually say that until about 2/3 of the way through the movie, but it's basically implied. I thought, given the title and the way that the movie starts at the beginning, that there was going to be a lot more to it with the different time aspect, okay? Like, I didn't know exactly what they were going to do with it, but I thought there was going to be more to it than what there was. And I was fairly disappointed that there wasn't anything more to it than that, and I'll come back to that in the second half of this review. So, just as a movie itself, it's a very quiet, kind of slow-moving movie, and there's not really much in the way of like action or fast-paced anything, intensity, nothing like that at all. It really just centers around the relationship between Andrew Garfield's character, which is a guy named Tobias, and Florence Pugh's character, which is a woman named Alma. Their relationship at three very specific times in their relationship. As far as like the writing and the direction and, you know, I mean, it's set in, I think it's London. It doesn't ever really say. It could be some other city in England, honestly. It doesn't really specify if it's London or not. It's somewhere in England. I really thought Andrew Garfield specifically did a very, very good job. Andrew Garfield's acting in this was very good. It was very moving. You really definitely felt for his character throughout the whole movie. Florence Pugh's acting was also good, but I'll come back to her in a minute. If I'm talking about just the movie itself, like trying to be fairly objective about it as a film, I'd give it maybe a 3.5, maybe a 4. I don't know. It was fine. Now, let's talk about my opinion of it. I'm only going to give this a 2 out of 5. I didn't like it at all. And there were like 3 main things that I really didn't like. They kind of tried to mess with your mind at the beginning of the movie. And I was actually quite confused because they switch back and forth in the 3 different time periods in the movie between them at the very beginning. And it took you a little while to figure out, wait, when is this? They actually even make you think that he's getting divorced from Florence Pugh's character early in the movie, when in reality, he's getting divorced from someone else that isn't ever in the movie, and that's when he happens to meet Florence Pugh. So that was kind of threw you off right away. And I don't know if they're doing that was intentional. I didn't really see the point to it. So the whole thing with time and like the title of the movie and the fact that they kept switching between these 3 different time periods in their life, I didn't really see the point of it. And I didn't really understand why they did that or why they thought that that was necessary or even helpful in any way in moving the movie along. It didn't make any sense to me, and I was disappointed in that aspect of it because I thought there was going to be something cool with, you know, something with the passage of time or different time periods in their relationship or something, and there just wasn't. So I don't know what the point of that was, and it left me kind of like confused and not really liking it as much as I thought I would. I don't really understand why they couldn't have just shown it linear in a normal fashion. If you see it, let me know your thoughts on this. The other reason I didn't like it is I felt like they left way too much unexplained. They had very specific scenes that they chose to include in the movie at very specific times. So the 3 time periods that they focus on are when they first meet and very early in their relationship. The second time period is she is hugely pregnant and about to go to the hospital to deliver their daughter. And the third time period is basically, you got to watch the whole movie to realize this, but it's kind of like the last year of her life. Another thing is they don't actually tell you that she died, but it's very definitely implied that she dies. But they don't show it. A whole bunch of stuff is left unsaid and unexplained. Like in the third chronological scenes, which you kind of figure out is like the last year of her life, they live in this great big beautiful house in the country and they have practically like this farm and everything. They never explain to you, when did they move there? How do they have this house? Nothing. Like a whole bunch of information about their life was just completely left out of the movie. And I didn't like that at all. It just was really vague. They didn't really show the progression from when they first met to like how they got so serious. And I don't know, it just left a lot out and I felt like a lot more should have been explained. And that was frustrating. And then the third thing I didn't like was I don't particularly like Florence Pugh just as an actress anyway. I think she has a very hard quality about her. I've liked some of her acting and some other things, like to a limited degree. I really liked Andrew Garfield in this, and he obviously, the characters now, really loved her and was very devoted to her. And she was just such a jerk to him. She did a few different things throughout the movie that I just thought were kind of unforgivable. It made me mad. Like, it made me feel really bad for him, and it made me really annoyed with her. Like, I felt like he was so focused on her and their relationship and their daughter, and she was, like, basically just focused on herself. And it rubbed me the wrong way. Now, in the end, she makes a particular choice at a key moment, and I did get a little teary there, but it wasn't enough for me to say that this was an automatic 5 stars because it made me cry, because the rest of the movie overshadowed that. I felt like she made too many choices earlier in the movie that made that last little decision not really worth enough. This was marketed to be this great love story, and it didn't really feel like a love story to me. It felt very one-sided. Like it was all on his end that was the love story, and her part of it was something totally different. So it was frustrating to me, and it didn't give me like warm feel like, oh, what a wonderful love story. It didn't feel like that at all. Now I couldn't relate to her. I had trouble empathizing with her point of view. I wouldn't make the same decisions, and I realize I'm a different person, but again, I just feel like she was such a jerk to him at a couple of different key times. Like, she was really hurtful. And as a mom, there's one scene, tiny spoiler here, she completely forgets to pick up her daughter from daycare. And I just find that inexcusable. Her daughter is standing there with the teacher with an umbrella in the pouring rain, and you can just see on the little girl's face that feeling of, I've been forgotten. And I just thought that was terrible. And she never does go. And it's awful. I didn't like her character, and I didn't like the choices she made, and it made me deeply sympathetic to Andrew Garfield's character, but I didn't really like Florence Pugh's character in this movie very much at all. So it didn't feel like a love story to me. It kind of felt like this was something he went through and had to endure to come out the other side with his daughter. Really, that's what it kind of felt like to me. And that may be a little bit harsh, but that's kind of how it felt. I didn't really like it. I didn't enjoy watching it. It was kind of unnecessarily confusing, lacked detail that I felt like was kind of important. So I would personally, for myself, as far as like how I felt about the movie, I would only give it a 2 out of 5. In that I did not like it. And it's not very often that I go to movies that I don't like. I'm pretty good at choosing movies that I'm at least gonna like. You know, like I may not like it a lot. I may not love it, but I'll at least like it. And this one, actually, I did come out and say I didn't like it. So that's my thoughts on We Live in Time. Completely inexplicable title. I don't know what the point of the title was. There's nothing magical or interesting about the passage of time in this movie. I will give you a tip. If you go to see this movie and you're as confused as I was at the very beginning, the way that you can tell 3 different time periods apart in the different scenes, because they jump back and forth between them so frequently, is Florence Pugh's character's hair. In the early years when they first get together, she has bangs and she's much blonder. And in the middle time, she's grown her hair out and she doesn't have bangs. And then at the end, her head is shaved because she has cancer. So if you look at her hair, then you can tell which time period we're in. But beyond that, I didn't really understand the significance of jumping back and forth between time periods. I didn't really feel like it added anything to the film. So We Live in Time, only 2 out of 5 from me. I think it's totally skippable, unless you really want to be impressed with Andrew Garfield's acting, which kudos to him for the job he did in this movie. But beyond that, I didn't like it. Thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you next time.